Hey y'all, Mike with Cardboard Kingdom. Welcome back to another Disney Lorcana video. Hope you and yours are doing well. I am doing amazing. We are fired up today, so we're going to get right into it. We had a post on Reddit here in the r/Lorcana Collectors Reddit that says, what a failing TCG looks like. A short video by Cardinal Gaming on Yu-Gi-Oh, but could apply to Lorcana. This is Mason from Cardinal Gaming. If you're not familiar, he runs an LGS. He does YouTube content. Very good follow, subscribe, watch his videos. Very, very good information there. He makes a video talking about how Yu-Gi-Oh is stale. He's losing money on every single set, and it's basically a failing TCG. Konami is not innovating whatsoever, and it's just falling by the wayside to things like Pokemon, Magic, and One Piece was kind of what he says in this video in terms of the up-and-comer, which One Piece has done a fantastic job. There's no doubt about it. But basically, these boxes are about $60. I think he has one price as low as like 30 to 35. Can't give away the packs, right? And that's already him losing basically half of the price that he paid for the box. Okay, so Virtually Rye goes on to kind of compare a lot of things that Mason talks about to Lorcana in terms of box prices falling, lack of innovation, stores dropping the game, and just kind of like, this doom and gloom spiral from him about Yu-Gi-Oh, and then transitioning to Robinsburger being a poorly run company and they're not making enough changes, right? So I commented and said, I'm always interested in these stores dropping the game, right? Because Virtually Right says he knows those stores in his area that just quit selling Lorcana, which if I'm running that store, like I can't picture it, but nevertheless, stay with me. I said if I'm a store and get boxes for Lorcana at distro around 85 to 90, every box historically is either at that price or drastically above it, except for set 3 and set 4. There's no reason to drop this game. My LGS sells out of Lorcana every single set without fail. They sell out immediately, every single set. They price it to sell and it gets bought. Every single set stays well above distro at the beginning of the set release. Pokemon boxes were drastically below MSRP at release just last year. In early 2024, really the first half of 2024, you could buy a Pokemon box for well below distribution every single set. Looking at you, Paradox Rift, looking at you, Obsidian Flames, Twilight Masquerade, kind of started picking up a little bit around there, around 151, Paldean Fates. But those early sets, like you could get below distribution literally last year, right? And that's really hard to imagine because we're now in this hype cycle and everything's doing really, really well in the secondary market. But literally just last year, a game that's almost 30 years old was selling for below distribution, right? So just like to put in the big picture, this happens for every single trading card game, and it's going to happen again for Pokemon, right? But at right now, it just doesn't feel like that because of everything that's going on around Lorcana. I said they need to increase the booster pack opening experience, more alt arts. They need to entice people to get back into the LGS. Prize packs, these things should be done. This is on Robinsburger. We need more alt arts and we need prize packs. We need people to be enticed to play locally. We need Infinity play kits to get out on time. Like, these things need to be cleaned up. I'm not saying Robinsburger is perfect, but to compare Lorcana to Yu-Gi-Oh is just silly. Mason paid $60 for all those boxes he's showing, and he has marked them down to as low as 40, and they aren't selling. Lorcana doesn't have that problem. They need to get better, but the constant doom and gloom is just so overblown at this point. Go show your LGS the secondary prices for the two most recent sets so they can carry the game again. And that's really the root of, my problem with this is these stores that are dropping the game, right? No one cares about it anymore. Look at Fable and look at Whispers in the Well. Look at every set when it came out versus, in terms of like following it for the first 2 to 3 months. Like if you bought Lorcana as an LGS and got it from distribution at 85 to 90, every single set was selling above that for months. And sure, some of the sets may be lower now, like Reign of Jafar, Arcasia's Islands, Azure IC, those are probably like $80 to $90 booster boxes. They're kind of at cost, but for a long time they were above it. And so unless you just bought it and marked it at 150 and didn't sell it, then you have no reason to complain, in my opinion. These TCGs, there's waves, they go up and they go down. Right now they're doing very, very well on things like One Piece and on things like Pokemon, Magic collector boxes, etc. But there was a time in late 2023 and 2024 when Lorcana was the hot thing and everything else was sitting on the shelves, but you couldn't get Lorcana, right? And so some of these people, I get being frustrated, right? Like I said, Robinsburger, we need more alt arts in the packs. Like this 1 in 96 Enchanted or 1 in 2000 Iconic for the only alt arts in the booster pack, that's blasphemy. That needs fixed. They need to address that sooner rather than later. They need to get people back in the LGS. They need to do things like the Infinity Weekend a lot better. These things need fixed. To imply that Lorcana is dying or that LGSs aren't caring anymore or anything like that is just flat out silly. Okay, that's not the case, and I think that that's just a reflection of a poor LGS more so than a bad trading card game, right? Now, people on this post have said have had good things to say. Card games are an expensive hobby. Times are tough for many financially, making the game hard to explore or to be introduced with the cost of barrier to entry is even more reason for a digital client. The game, if this game dies, it's on Robinsburger. I completely can agree. Lorcana, in terms of the game itself, has all the ability to stay long term. It's a great game. It's getting new people into the hobby. It's got fantastic art. Like, Lorcana's got so many things going for it. If it does die, it's ultimately a major indictment on Robinsburger. That is completely true. Now, in terms of a digital client, look, I would be fine if they had a digital client, but I look at all these other TCGs that don't have a digital client that are doing fine or didn't have one for a very long time, and I think that it's fine to not have one in today's day and age. But I would not be opposed to it whatsoever. Now, in terms of like the barrier to entry and things like that, like there's a lot of really, really cheap decks and a lot of really cheap cards out there. So I think, unless you're going to like DLCs, you don't really need the best meta deck, in my opinion. And so at that point, you're probably biting the bullet and buying the $500 deck regardless. But yeah, a lot of people are complaining about the digital client. This person says card games thrive when TCGs have healthy, stable, and growing competitive scenes. RB's lack of ease to acquire tickets to competitive events, poor handling of cheaters, lack of a solid judge program from the start, and a stale meta after rotation makes for not fun play. I agree with the majority of that. I think the poor handling of cheaters, I think they dealt with that, for the most time when it was addressed. But I think that's all fair criticism, and these are things that they have to improve on, without a doubt, right? Like, I'm not one to sit here and just tout that they're the best trading card game company, and this is they're without fault, and this is cannot fail. It absolutely can, and they definitely have fault. This thing, they have built the plane as it's kind of gone off the runway with a lot of support from the community, and quite frankly, if like in a world where YouTube didn't exist and we had a lot of great people talking about the playability of the game and the metas and getting people out to tournaments, like, this world could look a lot different for Lorcana, but those people were here and those people did exist from the beginning. And this has happened, right? Now we're kind of off the runway while it's still definitely taking off. A lot of the early woes are behind us at this point. And I think that that's really just a testament to how awesome the game really is, right? There's a lot of people who play this game, and there's a lot of people that love this game. And just because the people like Rudy or people online, your cards aren't going up enough in value, like, there was a lot of times in games like Pokemon that now you can't even imagine were like dead, like beyond dead, right? Like they were on life support. But they made it back, right? And I just don't think we're at that point yet where we're on life support. Cards are constantly buying and selling. Products are doing extremely well. Look at set 9 and set 10. And this idea of like this goes back to kind of the original poster's point of like Robinsburger is a lot like Konami in the sense of the lack of innovation. While I wish they would have innovated faster, and while I wish that we had more alt arts and things like that, like it's easy for me to say just observing from the outside, like I feel like that's stuff that I would have fixed like very, very early on. But, I don't know what's going on with the Disney and Robinsburger relationship. That certainly makes things a lot harder than just kind of going with the flow yourself. But at the end of the day, to act like they haven't innovated, they have innovated a lot. They've added in the epics. They've added in the iconics. They've came out with multiplayer and cooperative games that truly make the experience a lot better for even just casual players. And once again, guys, keep in mind, like, and I guess this is a good time to transition to this other Reddit post that is the exact opposite of that post, because this applies so much of like why Lorcana is different. This person posted just early, or I guess kind of overnight, I started, and this is in the Lorcana Reddit, I started in this world because of my girlfriend, and he posts a picture of the Gateway product. I come from other TCGs. I'm more of a Pokemon guy. I played Yu-Gi-Oh as a kid, and I recently joined an MTG group. However, my girlfriend and I wanted to find an activity that would bring us together. I suggested the idea of playing a TCG, and she agreed. We didn't know which one to start with, and then she appeared, Lorcana. A few days ago was our first time playing this game with the Gateway set, and I'm really, really happy to be starting this world with her. This is what you guys don't, or maybe you don't understand it, or you're just not comprehending. Things like this are what make a long-term game and a long-term collectible. I've played Gateway for the first time with my daughter a few days ago. Every single night since we played, she's been asking me to play, and we played again last night. She's getting better. She's learning how to quest. She's learning how to exert. She's writing her board. She's drawing cards. The video of how to play Gateway has over 50,000 views on YouTube. These are not people who are like DGen TCG players that are hopping around from Riftbound to One Piece to Magic. These are people who are playing at their table with their kids, right? Like me and my daughter are creating memories through the Gateway product. Now that's going to continue with the Ursula's Return, Deep Trouble Quest box, the Range of Far box. Maybe me and my daughter, hopefully they fix the organized play system. We're able to get out and maybe go to an LGS sometime and play. But there's a lot of people who are really deep in this game who just simply aren't, buying a first chapter booster box yet because they just don't collect it yet. They're just playing. They're building organic interest. And that is a core difference from this and other TCGs. A lot of the other TCGs that are really inflated right now are it's just simply because of money. They have no core interest in the game. People are buying One Piece at an immense rate right now because numbers go up. They've never seen the show. They don't care about the show. They don't even know who Luffy is, but they know that he's got a chase card worth 9,000. And so damn well they're going to go buy the packs and they're going to rip them like crazy. I've seen so much on my social medias of these people who are just like, they're getting booster boxes. They're cutting off all the tops of the packs. They're dumping them out. They're searching for one card and they're throwing the rest away. And they're doing it second after second. It's just insane. These people are only chasing the money. And sure, Lorcana is not going up as fast as some of these other TCGs, but they are gaining real interest. People actually love this IP and they love this game, and they're not just here because of one particular card. Okay. And so sure, it would be great to have a $9,000 chase card. And we've got things like the iconic Mickey. I think Robinsburger, with that change of the iconics, with the addition of epics, though it's not enough, it's a great change. Implementing things like the Collector's Quest, giving event exclusive promos, cruise promos, right? Like these things need to get better. I want more altars, things like that, right? Because the art team is just so good. They really their crown jewel is they've got a family friendly IP, and they designed a very, very good game. That's the first thing. The second thing is the art in this game is so freaking good. They have to leverage it more. This is like their crown jewel. The art of a Lorcana Enchanted card. The closest one I got near me is a Robin Hood Enchanted, so we'll just show that. The art on an Enchanted card is freaking awesome. And these characters have so much nostalgia with them, whether it's from movies, from games, comics, etc. Like these IPs have tremendous nostalgia and connection factors from things that have been built over a century with this IP. And so they need to continue to leverage that. They need to get better there. But Lorcana is building a true fan base. And that's why Robinsburger really went with a player first model more so than adding in all these rarities and things like that. When things like Riftbound exist, which this happened to Robinsburger at the beginning now, if you're not familiar, Riftbound is getting scalped to the absolute moon. I've got a friend who he won't play Lorcana. He's much more this is like the prototypical TCG guy. Been a close friend my whole life. Me and my buddies who play Lorcana now used to play Yugioh with this friend, but he is a single guy in his mid-30s who just doesn't want to play Lorcana because it's Disney characters. But we used to all play League of Legends together, so he will play Riftbound. So I'm currently in the process of tomorrow I'm going to pick up a Riftbound deck just so I can play with him. I was looking at booster boxes. A Riftbound booster box is $330. This is the first set. The second set doesn't come out until February. There is no world where anyone new to the TCG world, other than speculators, are going to go out and pay $330 for this box. Now, hopefully it goes the Lorcana route where they continue to print it, they print it to demand, and it eventually kind of gets flushed back out. But that game is unattainable for the majority of people. The only people there are people in the traditional TCG ecosystem and speculators. Now, sure, that's going to build up a core fan base, and I think Riftbound is going to do very, very well. But what a lot of people like Virtually Rye, in my opinion, do not understand is that the core casual player base that Robinsburger and Lorcana is building is going to lead to long-term sustainability and long-term success. So as they go through these lulls in the market, it can come out stronger on the other side. And I get so fed up with this doom and gloom in this community. Like, Robinsburger's not perfect. They've got to get better, but damn, they're like, the idea that they've came out and they've made these products like Gateway and like the Illumineers Quest and Palace Heist that are getting these casual people involved in playing the game is like, that's a huge step in the right direction. And sure, they've got to pivot the ship. They've got to give us more alt arts. They've got to increase the booster pack opening experience. But to act like it's going to die overnight is just, it's so overblown in my opinion. Now, getting back to the Reddit post and stepping off my pedestal here, top comment: as someone who plays Pokemon Magic and other TCGs for the past 20 years, the design and consistent art style of Lorcana blows me away. Cheers, brother. There are 2 PvE kits that are called Illumineers Quest. One has you battling Ursa and the other one battling Jafar. Each come with 2 decks, and the boss has 4 different difficulties. Works for 1 to 4 players. Ursa is more of a rush to lore. Jafar requires lore on top of attacking locations, a card type kind of like battles in Magic. I didn't know about these sets. The original poster says. I'll look into it. Thank you so much. These sets are how me and my girlfriend got into the game. My brother bought the Ursula one for us for our birthday, and we had a blast trying to beat her. Then we were hooked, right? These are not people, a lot of times, who are coming from One Piece, who are coming from Pokemon. Like, they just like the game, and now they're hooked. The Jafar one plays really well now, and the box set it comes from is super nice and well organized. There's a lot of other ones here. Enjoy, also a TCG player from my younger days. Got into Lorcana with my wife, as we are both Disney fans. We love it, and we are both well down the rabbit hole. So, I mean, look, there's a, we'll read this one, they'll be done. I started in this world when I had a daughter, haha. Heavy MTG player, love Digimon, but don't get to play it for now. Collecting Lorcana kind of casually, and some of the cards to have some cards, for my toddler can play with in her own, and save some cards for future decks, like Frozen and Moana cards. Thus far are her faves. I grabbed the PV boxes. Those are my favorites. Even my wife, who isn't into cards, will sit down and play with them. And this is, once again, goes back to my whole family-friendly point. It would be tough for me to get down in open packs of even Pokemon right now. And this may change in the coming years. But for now, I have a wife who does not care about TCGs whatsoever. I have a 7-year-old daughter who cares about Disney. I have a 4-year-old son who's going to care about Pixar whenever Wilds Unknown comes out. And then I have a 1.5-year-old daughter who will go through the same kind of progression with the Disney, the Elsa, and all the princesses that my daughter has gone through. And now she's kind of coming out the other side, much more interested in things like Barbie and whatnot. But definitely still loves all the Disney characters. So we have a deep connection there. Okay. Need a water break here as we're going today. But this is the kind of underlying aspect of Lorcana that makes it much different than One Piece. Like, a lot of families, like, I don't want my kids seeing One Piece. Like, the cards are there, they creep me out. I'm just going to be completely honest. That's nothing wrong with, once again, I have friends who love One Piece. My buddy who I'm going to play Ripbound with, he loves One Piece. Like, those cards, you guys like them, that's fine. It's not for me. I don't want my daughter or my kids seeing that stuff. In the same vein, they have no clue about Pokemon yet. They know what Pokemon is, but opening Pokemon cards, like, we'll go to McDonald's and get the like Pokemon packs and the Happy Meals, things like that. It's all fun and good. But right now, Lorcana is really the only TCG that, especially as Pixar comes, that, like, from top to bottom, my kids are going to know all the characters for the most part. And that's just really, really special, right? Especially when you add in things like the Gateway and the co-op boxes that Robinsburger has really used their tabletop innovation on, once again, to speak about innovation, to act like they're not innovating at all, though mostly it's player focused right now. Like, that is innovation. And then you add in things like the collector's quest, the cruises, etc., the movie ticket release promos. Like, to say that they haven't innovated at all is just silly. Now, I'm sure they need to get better, but, like, to act like they're Konami in this 30-year-old TCG that is just stale as hell, like, that's not the case, right? Maybe they need to do things better. That I can get on board with, and I've given them plenty of criticism in my day. They're far from perfect, and I think some of these changes need to fix sooner rather than later, because this thing isn't a 30-year-old TCG. It can't last forever if they don't continue to innovate and optimize. But to act like they don't do any of that is just disingenuous, in my opinion. Though most of it is player focused, I think that is by design. So that's pretty much it for today. I did pull up a really funny PokeGym post. I think it's relevant to think about the time. So this is from 2009, October 9th, back in the good old days. And this person says, I was considering buying one of these $1,450, it's talking about first edition base set booster box. I was thinking about buying one of these for $1,450. Factory sealed is listed a good price. I'm wondering because I've seen individual packs on eBay for $50 to $60. Since there's 36 packs in a box, doesn't that actually make it profitable to buy the box and then sell the box individually? This post is just really funny to me. Obviously, hindsight 2020, back in 2009, who would have known that these boxes were going to be, I think, today's market price if one got sent to auction and you could verify that it was not resealed or tampered with, probably go for close to $250,000 to $300,000. And at these days they're talking about $1,000, right? 250x in 15 years, not bad. And then it's just funny. Some of these posts, like this person says, the person that respond, the Dark Twins. I know that 2 or 3 years ago, I got 2 boxes for under $500 each. So think about like 2006 timeframe. They were buying first edition base set booster boxes for $500 a piece. This is 8 years, 2006. This is 8 years, 9 years after Pokemon was released in Japan, 6 to 7 years in English. And they're buying booster boxes for $500, right? Pokemon in 2006 was on like life support in terms of the TCG. When it first went from Wizards of the Coast to Nintendo, it was in a very, very bad spot. Those sets were not well received. The game was doing very, very poorly. Now, we all had a massive nostalgic connection and things like COVID happened, but it took true collectors like this, like the Dark Twins and a personal hero of mine, S.M. Pratt, a fellow Missourian. He's still collects. He runs a Patreon right now and he still collects Pokemon to this day. And a lot of the things you hear on my channel, I kind of copy pasted, applied to Lorcana from him. I see that listing and I'm tempted to buy it every time. This is the same day it was posted. It is perfect for PSA, thumbs up, I guess. Anyway, that is a very high price. And Drew, you got 2 of those for $200. That is insane. Thumbs up. So once again, this is just a reminder, like, it was not always like this for Pokemon. And I know that's really hard to understand and comprehend in today's day and age where we're at this peak of the hype cycle, right? But coming back to the fundamentals, Lorcana, they need to get better, but you cannot say that they're not innovating and they are not growing a really, really passionate fan base. They've got to do things a lot better on the playability side. They've got to get people back in the LGS. All the things I've already mentioned 10 times in this video. But hopefully this post here, where it took organic passion from people like Hyrule Guardian, shout out Zelda, the Dark Twins, will.i.am, Hyrule Guardian again, SM Pratt, and Pokepop for Pokemon to become what it was. It did not happen overnight. It's going to take people who just have a core connection to the brand, to the IP, to the nostalgia that happened in 99 for all of us, or I guess earlier in some cases. But that's what it takes. You have to build up this cult following. And that's not to say that games like One Piece, Earthbound, Pokemon, Magic, etc. that are doing well aren't going to continue to do well. But you just have to account for the underlying mass following that Lorcana is gaining from a casual perspective's point of view. Me playing games like Gateway with my daughter, getting into this with my son, the Gateway video, or will get into this with my son, the Gateway video having over 50,000 views, events selling out relentlessly, the game being implemented in things like Epcot starting next month, collector quests, cruise promos, like, they need to get better, but damn, like, there's a lot to be excited about. And so, no, Lorcana's not dying. We're at a pivotal point. I agree. They need to start implementing some of these changes. Like, by Wilds Unknown, I'm going to want to see some of these alt-art changes in the boxes. I'm going to want to see better price support at the LGSs, better organized play support. I don't want to see Fabled reprinted into the moon. Sure, we can get a couple stable releases here of just kind of like more like restocks more so than like this massive reprint. Like, continue to roll it out. It's a brand new set. Just don't, completely tank it. But I think they're learning and I think they're getting better and I think they're innovating. And so I'm kind of over the doom and gloom. And so that's why you get a video like today where I rant for 25 minutes incoherently about why I love Lorcana. So yeah, that's where I'm at. No, Lorcana is not Yu-Gi-Oh. Yu-Gi-Oh's made it for 25 years. If Lorcana's around in 25 years, the game's going to be a massive success. But we'll worry about a lack of innovation, at that time. To say they haven't innovated enough is just silly. Yes, they need to focus more on collectors. I'm with you virtually, Rye. That's 100% the case. But I think they've done a really, really good job of getting people sitting at their kitchen table, getting people sitting at the LGS, getting people sitting at CCQs and DLCs and World Championships and Continentals and all these things. They've done a really, really good job of getting those people to the table in 2 years. We're 10 sets in. We've got Winterspell coming. Wilds Unknown is going to be a massive change for the game, in my opinion, bringing in the Pixar IPs. And so, yeah, there's a lot to be excited about. Once again, nothing wrong with Virtually Rise Post. Obviously, a lot of people agree with him. And I just, I just want to remind everyone that there's a lot more to come. And don't, just because it's not being hyped as much on YouTube as Pokemon or whatever, like, just, look at the underlying fundamentals. Buy a deck, play the game. It's a lot of fun. And if you're a parent, look, get the Gateway product. They did such a good job designing that, where you literally scan a video and it plays out the first 3 turns for you and your opponent to just kind of get an understanding. And like, it's technically rated for 8 and up. My daughter's 7, and that how-to video plus my guidance was like enough for her. Where like, once again, like at the start of these turns, like she's like, sure, it's not too complex yet. She can't read fully. But like, she's learning like math skills with the challenging, and the video is just so well designed. It's a well packaged product. It's in our game, game board area. And I just think stuff like that is a great sign, for the future. Once again, 50,000 views of just like families learning how to play at the kitchen table. Like, that's a lot, guys. And stuff like that. They're going to continue to develop those products. And I think, really, really exciting things to come on that front. So what do you think? Let me put a bow on this thing and quit rambling. Do you think Lorcana is going to be the next Yu-Gi-Oh? Do you think it's too late, right? Like, these Altarts things, like, that should have already happened, right? So is it too late? Do you think it's still got a little bit of room here to run? Do you think it's gonna make it? We're gonna come out the other side. It's fine to have any of these feelings, right? Like, Virtually Ride, their LGS dropping the game. A lot of cards set 1 through 4 kind of hit a bottom here. They're starting to sell again. That's worth noting, and we'll have more market videos on that in the future. But what do you guys think? Is Lorcana doomed? Is it the next Yu-Gi-Oh? Is it a dying TCG, or has it become one of the Pokemons, the Magics, the One Pieces? Does it have a legitimate future? Let me know your thoughts. I appreciate all the support, and we'll be back with another video soon. Bye.